I'm dressed like a stereotypical children's cartoon bad guy, and today we are going to be putting some new gauges on this old machine. Now, a lot of my regular viewers know, or will know by the time this video posts, that we recently got this thing running after a completely new engine rebuild. So this thing, you know, it's missing pretty much all of its factory wiring because it was completely discombobulated when I got it, so I ripped it out and put it out of its misery. But the downside is we no longer have any type of real oil pressure gauge, which is how it ran out of oil in the first place. Although when we started it, we rigged up an old mechanical gauge, which is actually from my 1950s Ford tractor. We borrowed it for this, but this has an actual electronic sending unit, so we're going to try and make use of that. So we have a real gauge built into the dash as it should be. We also have an hour meter. This one's pretty self-explanatory, just going to help with maintenance, and it'll be nice to know how many hours are actually on the rebuild of the engine, and then a water temperature gauge. Now, so you can see I kind of got a little excited here toward these things. Have not actually tried to installify anything yet. And yeah, this is a project, a little job that I'm more than happy to do, but I really only want to do it once, so I sprung for some of these Bosch gauges, and they really weren't even all that expensive. As usual, I'll put some links in the video description below to where you can pick these up on Amazon. Gotta get that line out there. Alright, yeah, I don't think I've ever installed anything quite like this, so let's figure out how we should begin. Alright, so I think this temperature gauge is gonna be pretty easy. We'll probably take it out of this little enclosure here and mount it into the dash, but we just have, well, this is a mechanical gauge, so there's just this long copper line, and then there's this thing, and they give you a little light to stick in the back of the gauge, and then a variety of these little brass things. Hopefully one of them will actually fit in the back of this coolant manifold here. This probably hasn't moved since the Berlin Wall was a thing. Oh, they got it in there pretty good. Can't fault them for that. Oh, there's coolant in here. Alright, didn't realize it would be that high up in the engine, but I guess it's not too surprising. Alright, so these threads interlock, so this looks like a match. So I guess it just goes kind of like that, right? Hopefully. Alright, and this is a brass fitting with some NPT. It looks like threads. I know that sounds unbelievable, but some of the others on this tractor are, even though it's from, the Czech Republic. So you'd think they'd be metric or whatever, but I'm gonna try to do this without any sealing tape or anything, because like I said, NPT obviously is self-sealing thread, and this is a brass fitting, so it should be fairly malleable. I don't think that plug had anything on it, and that was a steel plug as well. Alright, that's about as tight as I dare get it. Alright. Oh, that's pretty painless. Alright guys, so we have a slight problem. This tractor uses presumably 2.5 or perhaps 2 1/4 inch gauges. I never actually bothered to measure them, and so yeah, we got to deal with that. Now, I could probably go and buy an adapter or a little plate or something for 20 cents a piece on eBay, but since I didn't think to do that, we're just gonna make our own. Now, normally this is not something I would advocate doing, and I certainly wouldn't to a sports car or something, but like I said here, guys, farm tractor. I think it's gonna work out pretty decent, I hope. And then we'll start removing material here so we can still access this bolt hole to secure the dashboard down. Alright, so let's see what size of hool saw we should improperly use. It's basically 2 inch. Let's start with that. Alright, so the hole saw I have, I think that's actually probably pretty close to 2 inch, but it is about 1/8 of an inch too small for what we're doing. But I think I'm just gonna start off with this, and we'll hit it with the die grinder if need be. Alright, I tried to hold this back a little bit so when it slammed down, it didn't completely bury this hole saw in the material. And now I'm gonna get this one going, because I know as soon as I start spraying oil on this, it's gonna wipe away our lines. Alright, that was nice and smooth. Okay. Come on, work. Are you kidding me? There, get on there. You know what, this works too. What is wrong with this thing? Why is it always just the simplest crap that doesn't work right? Oh, this is not a particularly sharp hole saw, but then again, neither is the guy using it. Oh man, this thing's dang near ready for the scrap bin. You guys know that's not something I say very often. Try to wipe away some of these chips. Ah, it's still friggin' splooging everywhere. Oh no, there's WD-40 falling off my workbench. What is wrong with this thing? Oh! Alright, well, I guess it's good there's not much on there that can hurt. I might regret this, but let's try high speed. Oh wow, hey, it actually dang near fits without even doing any die grinding. Hey, how about that? Improper technique and past prime tools to the rescue. Oh! Alright, wow, quite the difference. Check it out, guys. Last two gauges are physically installed, just have to hook them up now. This is the part I've really been dreading. And I got lucky because this hour meter, the bracket on it, you'd think it ends here, but really it ends like here. So it's wide enough and strong enough to actually hold this whole aluminum plate to the dashboard just by its couple screws. You can see it does not budge at all. So this is the one I've really been not looking forward to hooking up, because I feel like this is going to be the complicated one, but it did come with some instructions. It also came with this sending unit. The tractor actually already has a sending unit on it, but I don't know if, you know, obviously it's the same or there'll be different readings. So let's at least see if this will fit on the tractor itself. Otherwise, we can just fire it up and see what happens, because I actually already know how much oil pressure this thing makes. So if we hook the gauge, a new gauge, up to the old oil sending unit, you know, and it starts off at the same number, we should be all right. But for anybody that's ever wondered, this is literally all it is. Just a thingamajigger you stick in there and, you know, it registers oil pressure and feeds it to the gauge. We'll see if this will even thread in, because if this is something completely different to the point it won't even hook up to the tractor, then, I mean, we don't have much choice but to use this one, which I guess neither of us bothered to tighten. Oops. What is that? Oh my. Huh. Well, hopefully this isn't for the oil pressure. Ah, shoot. Okay. Yeah, so this is the coolant, because the oil pressure galley, that's this down here. You can actually see this is where the thing is going to. I'm not going to make this all that tight, because like I said, NPT threads. Yeah, there's probably good, so it should get harder as we turn. Now, unfortunately, the old oil pressure sending unit has been reoccupied as a as a plug in this water jacket. As we found out, but we don't actually need this thing for any sending unit type of applications. So I'm actually just going to tighten this up and leave it there, because I know it's not 100% proper, but I can't actually think of anything bad that could happen from this. Okay, so basically there's one place for a wire coming off the sending unit, and on the gauge there's 3 wires, one in the center of that bracket and then 2 below it. So it takes a positive and a negative lead, presumably, you know, for power, and then 1 from the sending unit. So all we have to do is come over here and take some of the spool of wire, which Mechanic Steve very generously let me pilfer out of his garage when he was moving, and make this work. Alright guys, big moment. As you can see, I got the last of these gauges installed and wired in. Just sort of temporary wiring right now is one of the easiest things I've ever wired. None of this was any more difficult than, you know, just a positive and a negative wire, and then obviously the oil pressure gauge needed a line to the sensor. So, I mean, really, really simple stuff. And now, let's see, we'll hit the battery disconnect here. See what's going on. Alright. Got my keys. Let's see how easy this thing is to start. Hopefully it will start. This is only about its 3rd ever start since the engine rebuild, and it's been sitting here all weekend, so basically like almost 3 days. Gotta adjust that belt or something. Alright, gave the old hand prime.